I've heard.
Oh, I put a rub on it. I have a specific rub. I have a custom-made rub.
Proprietary rub.
Yes, I
know somebody else has a proprietary rub too.
Yeah, I have a proprietary rub myself.
We're not talking that subject.
Mine is actually. But yeah, way to go there, Brian. That's what we did.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
Hey, folks, and happy National Deviled Egg Day.
Happy National Deviled Egg Day.
I made mine look like sharks, apparently.
Oh, look at that. How nice.
I like putting a little pickle on there.
Sure, why not? Well,
give it the old pickle tickle.
More than... Oh, jeez. You would do that. So you don't put relish in it. You just put the pickle on it.
Mm-hmm.
You just put relish in it and
well,
pickle.
in case some people don't like pickles.
There you go.
Here's a question for you. Actually, it's two questions.
Right.
First,
okay.
Do you eat the uglies? Do you get stuck with the uglies all the time? So the ones where like the shell, where the egg wasn't peeled very well, and it cracked.
Yeah.
And
I'll eat it.
It's usually the person who makes them winds up eating the uglies.
Which is fine with me. I make a few extra of them so I know I can eat them.
Yeah, usually you eat them before they even go out so people can see them.
Too.
Yeah, there's that.
Well, it doesn't matter. Depends on who I'm making them for. So.
Question number two. Mayo or Miracle Whip?
Mayo.
I do both.
Do you?
Miracle Whip gives... I know there's like this Miracle Whip haters club out there, which is about 90% of the planet, I think.
Pretty much.
But they're still on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Still sells, so must be somebody eating it. But it gives a nice tang. I like the tang that it gives.
Nice tang. Put a little lemon in it too. It'll give you a tang too.
This is true, but see that one got really ugly on the bottom.
That's horrible.
Not just the. And I actually was out of paprika, so this is chipotle pepper on there.
Oh well, lovely. There you go. I put a little lemon juice in when I make tuna salad. Put a little lemon juice in it.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon on fish.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is not a cooking show.
No. We're not talking about deviled eggs and tuna salad now.
No.
Although they would go good together because you can make a nice deviled egg tuna salad. So it's like,
There was what was the bar in Brooklyn? They made fried deviled eggs. They fried the white part and then piped in the.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
I've had that. Good. I had that somewhere. Might have been in Brooklyn. I don't know. I don't think it was, but it could have been.
Wasn't too far from Grimm.
Okay.
It may have been on Metropolitan, actually. It's probably halfway between Grimm and Spite and Dival.
Well, all right. Well, I've been there a few times.
Yes, I know you have.
So, I mean just Spite and Dival. I mean that Metropolitan between
that whole area.
Grimm and Spite and Dival. So.
Yeah.
Anyway. So it's also some other day. Do you know what day that it also is? What am I thinking? What other day is it?
Pretend you're psychic.
No.
No, wait a second. There's two other things coming through, though. Oh, I read you wrong. Practice being psychic.
It's practice being psychic, yes.
But the thing is, that's all being stepped over. I heard it wrong because the other two things that keep coming from you is boobs, beer, boobs, beer, boobs, and it's really loud.
I'm sorry.
So.
I'm sorry. Well,
how
often do you get that?
That's probably constant.
You constantly get boobs and beer?
No, coming off of you.
I got you.
Anyway.
Let's see what you're saying. All right. Well, anyway,
let's move on. There's a reason I've got this shirt hanging up here.
What is the reason you have that shirt hanging up there, Dave?
Just Dia de los Muertos.
It is.
I'm probably destroying that, so we'll...
Dia de los Muertos.
Dia
de los Muertos.
We have a mutual friend on Facebook posted up a picture, done up fantastic.
Yep. And
no, he did it before today. I don't think he's like this today, but show this.
That would be this picture right here.
Yes, Alacron. That is fantastic right there.
That is a great picture.
So let's take the makeup off and bring him on.
Want to take the makeup off and bring him on? All right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Please, Mr. Tony Drewry, alias, a.k.a. Alacron, right there.
Howdy. How y'all doing?
How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, man. Good to see.
Oh my God, that was fantastic makeup, man. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I just washed it off this morning. It was so good. I had to get a couple extra days out of it.
There you go.
I
Look
should
at
have
that, though. That's great. That's awesome.
Now,
Really
this is
good.
a friend of yours did this, right?
Yes, her name is Katie McKinney, and she is an amazing makeup artist. She does all kinds of art, but she was in Austin at the same time I was, and was already going to be doing these all day long. So I got to sneak one in, but I had to get up at 6:30 in the morning, and she came over to the house I was staying at 7 o'clock in the morning, drank coffee, and did all that by hand, no airbrush this time.
That
Oh,
is well
And then-
worth getting up that early.
And then I drove from Austin to I figured if I've got the makeup on, I went ahead and put the skeleton suit on. So I drove from Austin to Fort Worth to do a homebrew competition that I kind of helped organize. And so everywhere I stopped, and I stopped places, I had a little extra time. So I stopped places even though I didn't need to. I walked through the Buc-ee's is the big gas station here.
Oh, yeah. We talked about Buc-ee's last time.
Yeah. So I walked through the Buc-ee's from one end to the other, and got some selfies, and sure, I ended up on somebody's Snapchat.
That's awesome.
Good time.
That's great.
It's fantastic.
That's definitely that. Well, I got to put it up one more time. Look at that. That's really. I want to say it's a work of art. It really is a work of art. I mean, it's just so good. It really is. That's awesome.
It's literally a work of art in the vein that like Southwestern natives sand art, where it's meant to be temporary.
Right. For sure.
And that's half the beauty of it.
The next ones they did in that shop were Batman and Robin, but the Batman was a bat face, and the Robin was a bird.
Nice.
That is
very nice.
Next level couple costumes there for you.
Yeah, there we go.
That's awesome.
So, beer.
Yeah, let's open beer. Let's do some beer.
Well, no, I'm getting that off John because I'm practicing being psychic today.
There you go. No, I just got mine out. So why don't you, Dave? What are you drinking? Get that going first.
Well, I think Alacron is already open.
Are you
you not?
already open?
No,
Okay.
I waited.
Oh, you waited. No, then let the guest go.
All right.
He was kind enough to wait for us.
Alacron, what are you drinking?
This is from Real Ale Brewing Company. Well, there we go.
Skullberry.
Strawberry milkshake IPA.
Very nice.
Good one here.
Very nice. So it's Captain Crunch's favorite beer.
Captain Crunch's favorite beer. I've
There you
heard.
go. I have heard that, actually. Last time I talked to him, he was mentioning it. How was that?
It's very nice. I
Very
like
good?
the way I'm not as big into fruity beers as I am hops, but I like the way those two play together.
Nice. That's awesome.
Very
Yeah, you
nice.
could do if you use strawberry the right way in a beer. It's pretty
I
tasty.
think that's really what a real ale specialty is. They take even these the new styles and make like very classic representations of them. So it's a safe approach, but it's always a really good beer.
Nice.
What's the hop that throws strawberry?
Ooh, you got me.
Forget it. I forget it because if you use that in there, because remember the one I brought back for you from Rhode Island that tasted like crunch berries.
Oh, I actually have it in my notes. Hold on one second.
Because that one I think they used the strawberry hops in there. Which I remember the name of it.
And this
Oh,
one
my
actually
memory's
has strawberry puree in it.
Oh, very nice. Nice. So, while John's looking that up, I'll go to my beer because otherwise we're just gonna have silence. I went yesterday. Sunday went to a place that John's all too familiar with. We got a place in New Jersey. It's one of the best hot dog places in the state, and in some cases is mentioned as one of the best in the country. It's called Rutt's Hut. They deep fry their dogs until the skin rips open.
Yeah.
And what's great is you can have them leave it in there a little long. That's called a ripper.
Mm-hmm.
You can have them leave it in there a little longer than they call it a weller. And then if you're kind of a pussy and don't want it completely ripped open, there's just the in and out. But then there's the incinerator, which is one that probably fell out of the basket and is underneath everything.
You forgot cremator is in between incinerator.
Oh, that's right. Cremators. I got to get a cremator next time because I had the weller.
In and out, you got the
Ripper,
the weller, the cremator, then the incinerator. Right. Incinerator is just that you're basically taking a bite of ash.
Yeah.
Pretty
that
much.
used to be a hot dog.
Right.
So, but
the relish is just
Oh, it's
forget
just,
about it.
It's just onion, pickle, and mustard.
It's its own food group. This relish.
And the thing is,
I've already eaten, and you guys are making me hungry.
And if you open up the thing, and the relish isn't crusted over, go to the next one because it's not ready yet.
Right.
You need to be able to get the breakthrough crust. But catty corner from them, and we'll ask them about this one day, as if it was intentional where they open, is Ghost Hawk Brewing Company.
There you go.
So almost everybody, most people that you see, shoving dogs down their face at Rutt's Hut at the counter, wind up here. And this is a brown ale.
Mm-hmm.
And I always get the name wrong because you want to call it Falling Leaves, but it's Leaves Turn.
Leaves Turn, yeah.
And it's just a lovely representation of this style. It just screams fall.
Mm-hmm.
Some nice cocoa notes in there too. So with the roast and cocoa.
Very nice. Very
Hey,
nice.
the brown ales are making a comeback in West Texas. We'll talk about that later.
I love brown ales. I could drink brown ales all year long.
I do too.
I do. So, all right. And speaking of a representation that is, it's not making as big a comeback as a brown ale, mind you, but it's on the way. Here, I'm drinking a Treehouse Old Man right there. And what is Old Man?
Take a look at my life.
All right.
ESB.
It's an ESB. There you go. So I'm drinking an ESB on this. It's the first ESB I've ever had on the show. So
it is.
It is. It definitely is. So I'll pour that really quick.
Is it the first? I don't think is it the first ESB on the show. Period.
It's probably the first ESB on the show. Yeah.
Very possible.
Mm-hmm. So I will pour that off, and I will take my obligatory picture. And
you're not obliged to take it. It's not obligatory.
I'm obliged to take it for myself, so it's obligatory. All right. Gentlemen, cheers. Look at that color.
Oh, where's my camera? There's my camera. Salute.
Nice.
Salute.
So you were out in far west Texas for a while there, right? What were you up to, Tony?
Well, I've made a couple runs back and forth, and then but one of the biggest trips I took was I went to Terlingua to officiate a wedding, and then from there I went to El Paso to do some work on a friend's house. From there we went down into Chihuahua to Casas Grandes to see the ruins of an old city that once was, and then back up into El Paso through to Midland. Picking up some beer for a bar in Fort Worth called Tulips. I think we talked about that last time.
Sure.
Yep.
And then I've been in and around Fort Worth ever since. So for the last couple of days.
There you go. And what did you say, Dave? Before we mentioned Chihuahua, what did you say it was?
I've often heard
El Paso.
No, he's talking about the pronunciation that I've heard from time to time of a Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Apparently, Tony's dog took exception to that.
Yeah. The dog does not like the word Chihuahua. So.
Well, she lived with a Chihuahua for a while, and in a former life, and I don't think she likes us very much at all.
She doesn't like them very much. Enough said. All right.
Anyway, our trip down to Chihuahua was pretty momentous. We got to see some really incredible stuff. The guide we hired took us to the ruins of the city and then to a couple of caves. I got to see what is considered the oldest grain silo that exists.
Really?
Basically made of mud, inside a cave. And the remnants of that are still there. So even though it's not really a beer connection, it was in a way. I mean, that's something that. And then we did a hike one day where we went through the river about 8 miles for the entire morning to get to this cave where we sat and ate burritos. And on the floor of the cave were still pieces of pottery and charcoal wood and obsidian from broken spear points. I mean, it's all just still there. It's just so far out that it doesn't really get picked through.
Wow.
So what an awesome trip.
Great.
I also learned if you buy a 6-pack there, we had a kid at a restaurant, almost any restaurant, if they don't sell beer, you can bring it in. And so we sent the dishwasher down to go buy us a 6-pack of beer, and he came back with 6 giant beers.
Nothing wrong with that.
They don't sell them in the small bottles. So we had plenty of beer for the next day or two.
You had to watch.
Now, was that the picture of you next to was it a canoe on the river, or was that trip?
We didn't do any paddling this trip.
Okay, so that must be an old picture.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on the, now that I think about it, it's been too long since I've been out on that Rio.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, I sometimes look at your adventures and like, man, I am jealous. I wish I had that freedom.
There you go.
You probably have a lot of stuff I don't have, though.
Yeah, probably the Potbelly is one of them.
And you can have one too for just $39.95.
Or a 6-pack of beer from Mexico.
Right.
Yeah. Which we call it. So that whole trip was after you officiated the wedding out.
That was after I officiated the wedding. So
nice.
And that was a fun one. A little different than usual. Some of the other ones, the last one I did out in the Big Bend, I actually stood in the middle of the Rio Grande, and they came out in the water with me. So
nice.
That was a pretty awesome one. I don't do very long weddings though, because it's right. I write something nice and I say a few words and we get the official part over with, and then move on. Everybody came for the party, and I do what the people that hire me ask me to do, not what the mother-in-law or the father-in-law or anybody else wants me to do.
Now you're licensed to do this in Texas?
I am licensed by the Church of the Latter-day Dude. I am a Dudist priest.
I am actually a Dudist as well, but I don't think I never made it to priest level. I'm an acolyte.
Well,
but
I didn't. It wasn't too hard. I mean, I just paid a couple bucks and got a sticker and a card in the mail.
Yeah, see, I got the freebie certificate.
Let's see, a Dudist priest.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull the card out for you and show you.
I wish I still had my certificate of Dudism, because I am a member of that church.
Well, it's nice to meet another member or to know that you are.
Well, there you go.
I am part of the flock. There it is.
There you go.
I am.
Very nice.
I am also a citizen of the Conch Republic.
Okay.
Really? That's cool.
And basically, you have to go through about as much rigmarole as you have to go through to be part of the Dudist Church.
There you go.
You can join for free, but if you want the card, you got to.
If you want the card, you got to pay them.
Yeah, the same thing with Conch Republic. But one of these days, I do want to go down to West Point.
Key West.
Key West, that'd be it. Something West. And for the annual celebration where they throw rolls at the Coast Guard cutter.
Nice.
And the Coast Guard cutter shoots water at them. It's actually a true historical event where they were trying to get independence, and they sent a Coast Guard cutter, and the only thing they had to attack it with was stale rolls. Needless to say, the people of Key West lost, but the Conch Republic, they never lose down there, do they?
No, not really.
No. And the Conch Republic remains.
There you go. But now, depending on how stale the rolls were, though, they could do some damage.
They could do some serious damage.
Yeah. So this is true. Now, let me ask both
before we move on,
I was moving on. I was actually going to ask you both a question about the Dudist. Dudism.
Okay, we'll get back to that. But we're talking about military conflicts. Sure. One of my favorite ever military conflicts was the Great Emu War.
The Great Emu War.
You have to look this up. I'm not making it up. In Australia, the farmers were getting really upset because the emus were just getting into everything. Right. So they brought in the army to thin the herd of emus. They found out that emus are a whole lot of feathers. And are also apparently were extras in the Matrix, because they had a lot of trouble. Even though they brought out machine guns in the back of trucks, they had trouble hitting and killing these things. So in the long run, the Australian army actually admitted defeat to the emus, and like true Australians and their fantastic sense of humor, they honor their loss to the emus on an annual basis. It's fantastic.
Is there an emu
There's got to be there should be a monument somewhere, right?
Somewhere, right?
To the
tribute to him.
This is ridiculous. Just picture them shooting these machine guns at these birds, and these birds just going, "What was that?"
So, I'm not going to make that. It was just a bad, corny joke as far as the
the
Dudist priest and all of that. I was going to say,
there are Dudist camps where we all congregate.
Well, no, like being a Dudist priest, do you have to tell people that they have another thing coming? in our.
No, you walk around and tell them, hey, that really brings the room together a lot.
Yeah. I'm just the keeper of the desert temple.
There you go.
There you go. And also ask them not to play the Eagles because you've had a really bad day.
You don't want to do that. Gotcha.
I could probably have asked you that anyway. Yeah.
But they don't supply toes, not in 4 hours.
No.
With nail polish.
I got you.
We could sit here and quote the movie all
I could just keep going and on and on. Right? Exactly. So.
It is fun to sign an actual government document with my title, Judas Priest.
Judas Priest.
It's awesome.
So, inevitably, each time somebody has said, "Is that legal?" And I'm like, "Well, nobody's going to read this again."
This is true.
So, what is a Judas Priest favorite music? Judas Priest. Right? No, I'm sorry about that.
And that's why they're all living after midnight.
It's weird.
Right.
Wow, we're getting bad.
All right.
Yeah. What's next?
All right.
let's bring up.
Let's fall a little bit further down this rabbit hole. All right. Let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about Texas beer. What's anything new in the industry since the last time you were on the show, which was about 4.5 months ago?
For sure. I don't know that I talked about it last time because I don't think I'd been out there and run into this guy. But organic hops grown in the dirt are a burgeoning business in Texas. There was a guy that's been doing it for a couple of years out in Alpine, which is out just north of the Big Bend, north end of the Big Bend region.
Okay.
And he found out he had cut his teeth in Oregon and figured out that the soil was pretty similar, and so were a lot of the climate conditions. And from everybody he'd talked to, they told him that you couldn't grow hops that far south. And he did it successfully for 3 seasons, and then moved the operation from there. And another guy kind of took over in his space. And so there's actually some guys growing hops in the dirt, and multiple varieties, which is pretty cool for Texas. That's not something that's been available at any given time. So a handful of the very first Texas wet hop ales have been made.
Nice.
And then the most recent thing I've been able to get a taste of was when I stopped in Midland on my way from El Paso to Fort Worth. He had a Texas estate ale, and he called it the estate beer of Texas. And so it's made from malted barley that's grown and malted in Texas.
Okay.
And then some of those Texas hops, and then a strain of yeast from a company in San Antonio, Community Cultures Yeast Lab, and they have actually developed a strain of yeast that comes one in particular that comes from the Big Bend.
Oh wow!
So
wow,
some pretty interesting stuff going on, and I've gotten to taste about 5 different beers with that Big Bend yeast in different parts of the state and all different kinds of beers, and it's almost it's just, I don't know. I'm gonna have to keep trying on it to really kind of pinpoint what it is that the last one, that Texas estate beer, I thought it was a Hefeweizen yeast.
Really?
And it was not at all, not even close.
Really? You got banana and clove notes and everything in
it?
Wow.
Now
very spicy.
Nice.
The question about the hops, Texas hops, we've talked a few times on the show how hops have a terroir. They're going to take on the characteristic of where they're grown. Mm-hmm. So we know the Pacific Northwest gives off some pine, it gives off citrus. Mm-hmm. You get floral from Germany, spice from England, grass from the Czech Republic,
lemon from New Jersey,
or sewage, right. One of the two. Lemon from the Pacific Rim. What are we getting out of the Texas dirt? What flavors are the hops throwing?
I think it is really too soon to tell. I mean, like all the varietals I've had, every beer that I've had they've been put in it's all very experimental at this point. And I haven't been able to really narrow it down. And I don't even know if they've come full circle yet. It's probably going to take a couple of seasons of working the same land and getting it going. But I will say that every other thing that I have tasted from that grows out there in that desert, in a lot of different ways, it's very earthy for sure, which is not typical of American hops. But the Sotol that we talked about, that stuff right there, that plant in and of itself is just very fruity and floral, in a very kind of juicy kind of way, Because
I know, because you can correct me if I'm wrong, John. I've heard tale of hops coming out of New Mexico that have earth and a little bit of like chili flavor to it.
Yeah, the Neo Mexicanas.
Right? Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So I would expect it wouldn't be too far off growing in that region.
I think earthy is what I'm going to go. I mean, and that's another thing that you kind of pick up even from that yeast that they developed from the strain that they developed from out there. I don't know. That's the legend of the natives is that the creator made everything, and he took all the things that were left and put them out in the Big Bend, and so you've got this great expanse of just about every kind of geology you could think of, and rocks and dirt and all that. I mean, I think it is the kind of the story of that desert.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, you would think that it wouldn't be, but I mean, it is. Even though they're right there, it is a pretty. There is enough depending on where you are in Texas and where you are in New Mexico. There is a decent amount of land between it. So, but yeah, you would expect it to be close. I don't
you
think
need good volcanic soil, and you need not excessive heat. So Alpine, that city actually sits about 5,000 feet elevation, so it's a real high desert. And then the land he had was right off a mountain pass on the edge of town, and so you got a pretty good breeze all year round, even on the hottest days.
That's great.
Wow,
keeping it cool down. So
very nice. Yeah, I'd love to taste some of the stuff coming out of there. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
So that's a burgeoning thing. That'll be, and then West Texas is really there's a lot popping out there, and it's kind of all these cities are some of these way far out there getting their first breweries, maybe ever. I mean, Texas was historically had a lot of breweries back in the day, but seeing them pop up, and I mean, I'd been to one in Midland a while back, and I mistakenly had referred to them as the first brewery in Midland. They're a pretty big operation. Then I met the guys from the first brewery in Midland, and I mentioned something to them about I had been to the other place, and he says, "Well, we are the first brewery in Midland." But they're they're really tiny operation, and it turned out we had a lot of connection. The kegs that they actually have in their brewery were from Big Bend Brewing Company when it went under. And I worked for that brewery when those kegs came in on that truck that day, and I put my hands on every one of those that came out of that truck. We unloaded a truck by hand off the pallets, and so like the kegs that guy had in his brewery, I'd actually physically put my hands on before. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's great. Oh, geez. What was I going to say? Some of the breweries that we talked about before on the last show. Any new as far as like seasonal beers, I wanted to get into the reason I was asking is because we've talked for the last couple months now. We've talked on the show about fall beers and the plethora of even different styles, not just the boutique ones, but some of the really good styles for fall beers. And obviously, we'll ask you the same question at that point. What are some of the ones that your go-tos or whatever in the fall? But are there any in Texas that have been released, whether they're perennial favorites or just new stuff this year?
I did pick some up. I don't know is Martin House Brewing on your radar at all?
We don't get it up here, but I love Martin House.
Well, right, okay. Yeah. So you're aware of them, though.
Yeah.
So they've got they're pretty well known for some wild flavors and things, hot Takis, and they did a ranch dressing and hot wing paired beer. Like a 2-pack of one's a hot wing beer and the other one's a ranch dressing beer. They've put menthol and squid ink in a beer.
Yep. We talked about that one with
those guys,
Rick. Yeah.
So, but they actually do make some really solid, more traditional beers. But they make a pretzel stout, which is one of their original lineup in the very beginning, one of their core beers, and actually would put pretzels in with the mash and had a deal going with a local company. And I really like that one. The little lower ABV, nice and dry, a little salty. But they do a peanut butter version of that this time of year, and man, it is something else.
Peanut butter filled pretzel stout.
Pretzel stout.
Peanut butter pretzel stout.
See, now I could take those containers you get of the peanut butter filled pretzel bites.
Oh, those Utz ones.
Or whatever they are. There's a couple of them, but I can get one of them, open it up, sit down on the couch, and finish it. Not a good idea, but I can do it. So
is Martin House the one that was doing the yogurt beers?
No, I think that's probably 903.
Sounds about right.
Sounds like that guy.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And then RAR makes one. RAR here in Fort Worth, where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
They make one that is a rum barrel aged pumpkin beer called Rumpy.
I like it.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that one's pretty good. I'm not really a pumpkin beer guy, but if I'll do one a year,
Sure.
just to say I did it. And,
Sure.
if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do a good one, well-made one.
Right.
Yeah, I did my 2 for the year on the last show.
On the last show,
Yeah,
we did our pumpkin show. Yeah,
I haven't forgotten you.
Yeah. But we no, I mean there's a couple that are really well made out there. I mean Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin, and I don't think you ever I don't know if you ever had it or whatever, but it's a really well brewed one. But I mean there's a couple we'll get to actually we'll talk about in a little bit later on in the show when we do our top threes. From one particular brewery that I'm certainly going to mention that are very, very, very well brewed pumpkin beers. But
I'm probably going to mention the same brewery.
Well, probably all three of us will mention the same brewery. So, but in any event, no, yeah, exactly. I got you. When it comes to anything like that, but yeah, I'm Mr. Malt. Like once September hits, I'll drink IPAs. Obviously, if there's if they're put in front of me, I'm drinking it. I love IPAs, but yeah, I'm all about the malt from September-ish on through the winter until we get to March.
It gets a little colder out there sooner than it does here. I'm still
I'm
still at the tail end of summer right here, man.
Yeah. We've been back and forth. We've actually had a really, really, really warm fall.
So far.
Like I said, yeah, so far. I mean, today I was outside at about this morning I was outside and it was 48 degrees. But and I think it got up to early 50s, low 50s. I'm not sure I was going there. Yeah.
No, we're in our early 50s.
We're in our early 50s, yeah. Low 50s, but yeah, just last week it was almost 80. So I mean, we're going back and forth a lot up here. So
today was
going to be a cold, wet winter.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Great. Today was the first day that maybe it was the second day I actually wore some sort of overcoating on my commute in today.
Overcoating?
Yeah.
Is that like anything like undercoating in the car?
Yeah, I guess so. Outerwear. Outerwear. We'll go with outerwear.
Outerwear.
That's what
like overcoating. I'm going to write
overcoating. It was an overcoating.
Overcoating. And when I went out this morning, this is when I went to do that. So I got my sticker.
Right.
So there you go. I got my board up here every year. I just put another one down. It's the same sticker.
Yeah, I won't ask you which crook you voted for.
They all suck.
They all suck.
They all suck.
This show isn't about politics, is it?
Not at all.
God, no.
That's why we just said they all suck. So.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
We're done.
This show is about facts.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Exactly.
Actually,
based evidence.
Fact, I'm opening another beer.
I think it's almost time. I'm just about done with mine, so I know if anybody that's listening to the show in the the rebroadcast on the video show, or if you're listening to it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or any of the audio programs,
Tune in Stitcher,
and Apple and Google and iHeartRadio and all the others. Anyway, Dave's going for probably 4 or 5 drinks tonight because he had a really hard day at work.
I've had a rough 2 months at work.
There you go. So if you're just listening to the audio podcast, you might want to tune back. You want to tune back over to the video one on Facebook or the YouTube channel and check out Dave. The way Dave looks after 2 rough months of work.
My predecessor actually wound up quitting because her hair was starting.
Wound up in an asylum. So.
Close. That's why she quit. So she didn't. Her hair was starting to fall out. Oh, she was.
And she was only 23 years old. But that's the problem.
No, I think she was only like 32.
Yeah, 601.
She probably still is only 32. Yeah. I don't think she aged that much in 1 year, but probably a lot in 1 year. So yeah, for her own sanity's sake, she wound up leaving.
So.
And I was lied to. Oh, it'll be easy for you.
There you go. So what are you drinking? What is your second beer you're drinking?
Well, this comes out of 2 shows ago when we had Allagash on.
So you went for the stout before the farmhouse.
I had to go for the Nocturne. After she was done describing this thing, I'm like, you know what? I have not had Nocturna, and I went and found it and I've already drank 2 of the 4.
Yeah,
I may drink.
I gotta go get at least a 4-pack of that. So
Yeah, I love the Venice note the nose puts off.
Nice. Yeah, we had Allagash on the show two shows ago.
All right.
It was a fun show. That was good.
Yeah, and we came out of that. We came to the conclusion: if you ever have the option, get the person in charge of the tours on the show. Always.
Because they know the most about the brewery, backstory, history, everything that goes on, their finger on the pulse of the brewery, more than the owners, more than the brewers, more than anybody else. So,
that's true.
Yep.
I always tell people you don't necessarily want to get the tour of the brewery from the brewer himself, because he probably doesn't want to talk to you.
No,
more than likely no.
Because he's already worked 80 hours and he doesn't want to have anything to do with anybody else.
To do, and it's more important than telling people what's
going on. His feet are killing him. His back is killing him.
Exactly.
Or her.
Not to say that I haven't gotten some good tours from this.
Oh no. They're if they're in good spirits and they haven't had a really rough week, or it's even earlier in the week, then it's cool to get a tour from them. But if you want to know like a lot about the brewery and the backstory and the history and everything else, whoever's in charge of the operations of the brewery, that's what you want to talk to. Actually, tours or anything, that's what you want.
One of the best tours I ever had was an owner, but that one's different because that was Gretchen.
Oh sure.
Gretchen Smith-Hausler from Little Dog.
Gretchen's just different. She's on another level anyway. And of course, who can forget the tour that Rick Reed gives all the time? That's just it's second to none. I mean,
it's a performance
tour. Yeah, it's a show. He stands up in the brew house and gives a show for half an hour. So anyway.
I know a couple of those guys.
Oh yeah. He's
it's legal obligation.
There you go. So, what are you're drinking? An Axis IPA.
From from Real Ale. I bought they make a 12-pack sampler with 4 different IPAs in it. And
Very nice.
Not what I was actually going to get, but every time I see this thing, it makes me happy because they always put one of the IPAs they put in there. It's the only way you can get it.
Gotcha.
I do several different IPAs. So this time it was the Skullberry. That one you could only get at the brewery. I think only at the brewery this year, in a real limited release. And they're one of the few breweries in Texas that has a really big presence and statewide distribution.
Gotcha. Nice.
So
very nice.
That's one of the reasons I like them so much, because they make great beer and I can get it almost anywhere I go.
And talk about this beer.
The Axis IPA is one that in the kind of consulting work that I do with different bars is the Beeritual Advisor. This is one that I recommend. It's on tap at a lot of places around town. It's just like, if you need a good classic IPA, not too far off in any direction, this is about as good as it gets.
So not West Coast, not East Coast, not New England, not British,
and not really. There's a Galactic Coast too, down in Houston and Galveston.
Yeah,
and there's even I had a beer up in Lubbock that was a Dust Coast IPA.
Dust Coast IPA.
And we've learned in Missouri that there is something called the Mid Coast.
Oh, it's a Mid Coast.
IPA.
Yeah. There's a Mid Coast IPA.
Yes, all the coasts. So
I like Galactic Coast and a Dust Coast.
I'm sure there are some other coast IPAs we have not yet heard of.
Well, I mean, there's got to be, clearly there's a North Coast. Well, obviously there's a North Coast there's a North Coast Brewing Company, but there's a North Coast in, on some state or country or somewhere. There's a North Coast. So let's have a North Coast or a South Coast IPA.
Well, there should be a Cheese Coast out of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin Cheese Coast, right?
Yeah.
Cheese Coast.
Cheese Coast.
Like
what would that IPA taste like? I don't want to know.
Yeah.
That would be one of those funky sour IPAs, the Cheese Coast.
I'm gonna get them to make a Mexicoast beer out there in
the far west.
Marathon, yeah.
Mexicoast,
the tiniest little brewery in Texas.
There you go.
I like that. Mexicoast.
My second beer is also from Treehouse, and another first for the show, because I do not remember. Well, I certainly didn't have one, and I do not remember anybody else drinking one on the show. This one is from Treehouse as well. I have the can art. Very nice.
That is beautiful.
And it is called At Ease. It is an alt beer.
An alt beer. You have drank an alt beer on the show, I believe.
I drank an alt beer with you up in Portland, but I don't know if I had one on the show.
I thought you had one on the show.
No,
I really thought you had one.
I'll have to go back and check. But
is it an alt or a shtick alt?
No, it's not a stick of alt. It's just a regular. It's just a plain old.
That's what he was
beer.
talking about up in Portland.
Yeah.
At Navarre Res.
He
had a stick of alt. Stick of alt.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And we both ordered it. And fortunately for me, I got the last one they had.
He got the last. They were out of everything I ordered.
They were.
Right. I ordered the first 4 beers I tried to order. They were out of. So you could see there that they were still recovering from the lack of supply due to COVID.
Sure.
Because Navarre Res, I don't think has ever been in that position to say we're out of that 4 times in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either that or I am just one of the most unlucky human beings.
I was going to say, well, they had a lot of other beer there. You just happened to pick the 4 they were out of. That's all. Yeah. But he did get a little of my shtickle. So.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
He was kind enough to. I don't remember if you were kind enough to offer if I just grabbed your glass.
Well,
no, you offered.
I offered and you accepted.
Yeah.
So there you go. But look at that pour. Look at that color.
That is beautiful.
Very nice.
Very nice alt beer. Look at that. And this glass is from Mechanical Brewing in New Jersey. It's a newer brewery. They actually they're down near Cherry Hill, or in Cherry Hill actually. But look for them on the show in the future.
Nice.
So there you go. But
cheers.
Anyway, cheers.
I'm already halfway through. It's funny. You're drinking Treehouse. I'm actually drinking out of a Treehouse glass. I didn't realize I'd grabbed a Treehouse glass.
Oh my God, this beer's so good. This is really good. I'm an alt beer nut. I mean, Schwartz beers are my number one. Yeah, alt beers are right behind it. So Schwartz first, alt second. Stick alt, same, but right there.
Right.
Anyway, but why the hell is this up here?
I like malt, but I like hops. And
I love hops.
Right.
But this time of year, I'm just my mind's just on malt, just focused on malt. Just give me more malt.
Yeah, I'll drink anything any time of the year.
Well, that's just true too.
That is also true.
So,
see, the show is about facts.
This is very true. This is very true.
This is the fact.
Anyway.
No, the politicians, not the beers.
Politicians, yeah, I was talking about. No, the beers are all great. Yeah.
We were out of context.
What's that?
You were out of context.
I was out of context.
Yes.
I was out of context. I do apologize. So, anyway.
I always like when I hand someone a beer and they ask me, well, is it good? I go, do you think I'd hand you a shitty beer? I mean,
well, it depends. Were you an older brother?
Well, yeah, exactly.
I was the oldest brother.
I hate when somebody's standing there and I'm with somebody, they take a sip and they go, oh my God, this sucks. Here, taste this.
Yeah. Well, that was
no.
I grew up with that.
Right.
So I learned very early, oh, this is awful. Try this. No, my older brother would get pissed off, and he's 6, I'm 5, and by the time I was 5, I learned if he doesn't like it, don't take it.
And anybody that's a habitual watcher of this show, his older brother that he's referring to has been on the show with us before.
Yes, and there's a good possibility that for a holiday show he might be back on again because I'll probably be doing it from his place again.
Which is
likely.
Which is why he was on the show last time. So
yes,
exactly.
Because I was in his guest room.
His annual,
which apparently has awful Wi-Fi. So
it was horrible. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Maybe I'll do it if it's nice. I'll do it at the Lanai. At the Lanai.
Do it on Lanai. That's good.
Yeah, he's out in Boynton Beach, Florida. So
Brian's annual appearance on the show. So there you go. But all right, I got a couple questions for you guys. I got a little industry stuff I want to bring up here. All right. Industry, just in general. Now, I'm going to speak about New Jersey, but this goes for any state. Like specifically, these 3 breweries I'm going to mention are new in New Jersey. Drecker just came into New Jersey. Drecker from North Dakota. Anchorage from Alaska, obviously. 450 North from Indiana. I've had the pleasure of being at 450 North. I haven't visited either of the other 2. They're now in New Jersey. They're now distributing in New Jersey now. So first thing I'm going to ask is this. In general, from I know we're sitting here. The 3 of us are sitting here as, consumers. That we're drinkers right now. We're enjoying the beer. So on that level, we love the fact that these breweries are coming into all these other states, And the pandemic did have a lot to do with it because breweries, weren't selling as much draft and they had a lot more to can and more distro was getting out there and they got other contracts in other states with other distributors and they were able to get more beer out to other people that they hadn't been getting the beer out to in the past. So that's a good thing. That from a consumer, from a drinker point of view or whatever, that's a good thing. But looking at it from an industry point of view, looking at it from a brewery point of view, from a somebody that Not necessarily the retail end of things that, you buy beer, obviously, because the more you have to choose from, the better you are because you'll get more. And not just more a variety to choose from, but, all the other, bars or whatever that you're competing with, obviously. There's more product out there for you to choose from.
There's a question in this, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I'm rambling.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. Give me a minute. All right. My point is, as far as like from a brewery standpoint, from a brewery point of view, put yourself in the brewer's mindset, right? We always preach the fact that this, industry, and it really is, and I say it all the time, it's co-opetition. It's not competition, it's co-opetition. But there really is a certain amount of competition here. And I don't mean brewery to brewery.
There's shelf space,
tap lines, stuff like that.
It's tighter than it's ever been.
It is. It is. So how would you feel about more and more breweries coming into the state? Now, a lot of these are coming in package, so it's just shelf space we're talking about. We're not really talking about draft. But how do you feel about overall from both sides globally? You think it's a good thing or a bad thing or a mediocre thing kind of thing, that more and more breweries are coming into more and more other states than ever have been before? There, I finally got to my question. Okay.
You had to think about it for a second. If from a brewery perspective, I don't know. I kind of think, and I can give some insight from a consumer perspective too, in that just because we're getting a lot of new beers that are available, that haven't always been available. I've had a lot of these that are not in their prime by the time they get here.
Oh yeah, that's one of my other questions.
Like Toppling Goliath came to Texas not that long ago. They launched here in Texas for the first time, and of course everybody was very excited about it.
Sure.
And then
but you had 5-month-old product.
You've got really old, the same beer that they set down for the launch, sitting in there at a Specs or a Total Wine or something like that, and. And, people are buying it really cheap and they're posting it and they're like, hey, we got this beer. And then you're like, well, look at the date on the bottom of that. Look how old it is. And so, it comes in hot and heavy. It takes up shelf space that you're fighting really hard for in the local scene. And I don't know. I think it's causing a lot of undue stress on people. And you're not necessarily, I've never been a fan of pushing your beer a lot further away from your brewery than you can actually, in a market you can't support.
Right.
If you don't have somebody there to help promote it, then you're sending your beer off to die. And you're selling it, but you're not building anything.
You're not building anything with it. That's, I absolutely 100% agree with you. It's cool to get beer out there. Now, if you have some fresh stuff that you're getting out to these markets,
and you can keep it fresh,
and you can keep it fresh,
yep.
and you're just getting but just a small amount. You're getting 100 cases to a distributor that's going to sell it to the entire state, right? So he's going to sell one case to this venue, one case to this store, one case to that store, 2 cases to this store because it's a bigger account and he sells more volume or whatever. And they're going to fly, the beer came in, they're gone in a day. You're talking 6 or 12 4-packs, gone. That's easy. But if they have old product that they're shipping out, it's sitting in the distributor's warehouse for a month before they get it out. And then it's sitting on the shelf. All of a sudden you got 4-month-old product and you got 3 or 4 cases of it in that store. What are you doing?
And even with the best distributor, they didn't make that beer, and they've got a lot of other things that they need to do. So
sure.
Nobody cares about your beer as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I absolutely agree with Tony, but I'm going to go counterpoint.
Go for it.
Okay.
Because Tony's spoken like a hophead, because your hoppy beers are the ones that are really going to degrade by that age.
Right.
Where a lot of the styles I like, freshness isn't really always the biggest thing. When you're getting some of the maltier beers, I'm a big stout hound, right? So a lot of stouts really
You're a lot of things of a hound, but this
is true. But definitely stouts. So there's always that angle as well, where some of the beers they don't need to be as fresh. Like you brought up Toppling Goliath. I would love to see SR71 on the shelf here. It's not going to happen. No, that's never going to leave the state.
We've had Toppling Goliath in Jersey for about 3 years now.
Okay.
So, and when the product first came in, I got to be honest with you, I did buy it when it was first coming in, and it was fresh. It wasn't a week old. It was 3 weeks, maybe a month old, but it was fresh enough. For coming from Iowa to New Jersey and getting out from the distributor onto the shelf, a month is not bad. It's good.
But
it wasn't 4 months old. It was still, and they're brewing the beer, and I promise you, they're a brewery like I can't guarantee it, but they're using all the proper methods to sustainability, have sustainability.
But if they are or not, what we're looking at is, there's always been that question when you have breweries expanding in a state. Where is the tipping point? Where is the point of saturation?
Right.
So not only do you have the brewery expansion in the state, but then as the distribution starts to expand, shelf space, tap space, as we mentioned, really starts to fill up.
Right.
So now you start getting to that saturation point. When you get to that saturation point, then it becomes Darwinistic.
It does.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
Where you've got, and maybe for the good, maybe for the bad, because sometimes you'll see breweries survive that may not be making the best liquid. Mm-hmm. But they got the best marketing. They got the best following.
Sure.
So those are surviving.
We know, plenty of
a few breweries in Jersey that have survived. That are, maybe you've got breweries that have faltered, that have better liquid. They just didn't have as good of a following or as good marketing.
Sure.
So that's what it's
balance of both, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's what it's coming. That's what it's coming down to. That's what we're seeing.
Right.
And right now, this segues into Douglas's comment. If you want to toss that up there,
I'm going to throw that up. Douglas Smith just commented. Drecker has been very big in the D.C. area, very popular with the craft crowd. Has not stopped locals from doing their thing. It moves here, but locals aren't taking a big hit, if that makes sense. And it does make sense. Thank you, Doug.
It makes sense. Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense. But it also depends, and why I wanted you to bring that up is because it also depends on how intense the distribution is into the state. Even before the pandemic, New Jersey's had one of the best distributions into the state because for the longest time, we didn't have many good breweries.
Right.
So
it's amazing what we're getting in this state right now.
This little state.
It's crazy.
Our distribution list is massive. Now, I can't speak for DC how big their distribution into the state is. Mm-hmm. It's states, not a state. They don't get to vote even on election day. The district, they don't have a voice. Sorry, Doug.
They vote for mayor, and
Yeah, they've done a great job doing that.
Sorry, Doug.
We're not even going to touch on that because this show's not about politics.
They all suck.
They all suck.
See, it was in context that time.
that time we got a context. But if the distribution isn't huge, then there's room for all. Our distribution is huge, so New Jersey's seeing such a struggle with shelf space. One of my favorite liquor stores is in Boonton. And the distribution that has occurred during the pandemic has made their beer wall to me almost undecipherable. I used to know where every beer on that shelf went. They would hire new people. I'd walk in, and if someone's talking to them, they go, "Yeah, go talk to that guy."
Well, you see here, I'm
but now I can't make heads or tails out of it.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. There's more. And we talked about this either on the last show or the show before. There has been more shelf space available to craft brands than ever before, specifically speaking in New Jersey. And they've opened up more. They've expanded. They've more shelf space. Now, the store you're talking about always had a great array of craft brands to
they had a whole wall.
Shelves. Absolutely. So now they don't have more room to give more shelf space to craft brands because they already gave all of their shelf space to craft brands before this expansion. So it's harder for them. So,
but even those who are expanding,
that's a good problem to have. But
it is.
Yeah.
But those stores that are expanding their shelf space to bring in more craft, they can't expand fast enough for the amount of breweries that are opening in the state and what we're starting to bring into the state.
I'll bring this around and wrap the conversation up. But the one thing that I will say is that most of the distribution coming into state, and I can't speak for other states, but I know as far as New Jersey goes, most of the distribution coming into state, it's not that big. There's not huge amounts of liquid coming into the state, and it is mostly not 100%, but mostly cans, mostly package.
Yeah, so they come in and make a splash, and it probably does affect sales for that week, and then like things level back out.
And each store maybe gets 2 cases. Most of them will get 1. Some maybe get 3 or 4 because they're bigger stores and there's a lot more of a market for them, and they have more of a more of a presence with their distributor or whatever, and they can get a couple more. But they also have more buyers coming in. They have more traffic coming into the store. So they're, like you said, it's a splash. They're in and out, gone, boom, done. And the next time they come into the state is 2 months later. It's not a regular supply coming in.
But it's even less.
It's available, but not all the time.
But it's even less of a splash because what we're getting is we're getting their year rounds. We're getting their core beers. We're not getting anything real special from them.
The small batch stuff they're doing isn't leaving much further than the state borders.
SR71 being a prime example.
Right. But now there's a couple of really.
We got Yuengling in Texas recently, and that's a whole different.
You just got Yuengling in Texas, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, finally. Yeah. But kind of the opposite of all that. That actually has had some impact on a lot of people, I'm sure.
Sure, because they make a little bit more than a little bit of beer.
Right, and they're brewing it at the Miller plant here, and they've got that distribution on their side. And boy, there's not a bar I've been to that doesn't have a Yuengling tap in it. And
how many breweries are they in? How many breweries do they have now? Where are they?
Yuengling themselves have 3 breweries.
Right.
They have of their own. They have 3 breweries.
They brew in a whole.
They're brewing all the Yuengling in Texas is brewed at a Miller brewery in Fort Worth.
There you go. So.
But they brew all the Coors Light in Texas, all the Lone Star, all the Schaefer's and Hams.
Sounds like that sounds like a country song. All the Coors Light in Texas.
It's more than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
But I mean, Coors was always associated with Texas, right? Even go back to like the 70s with Smokey and the Bandit, the movie or whatever. They had to go to Texarkana, Texas, to get Coors to bring it back to Atlanta. Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought it was Florida for some reason.
It was Atlanta. No, the second, Smokey and the Bandit 2 was in Florida.
Florida, that's right.
They had to bring the elephant.
There was a member of the Coors family for years that they had a distribution. It was Coors distribution in Fort Worth, and they were the Coors distributor, but they were related, but not the same business entity. So they were not crossing the streams.
Sure.
Man, those guys had the coolest hospitality room at their distribution center. This old, like 70s looking room with all the wood paneling and these funky chairs and like.
Please tell me there was a pool table and a wooden bar in the corner.
Oh yeah, no, it was classy as all get out, and then a big collection of vintage cans up on the back wall behind the bar.
That's awesome.
I miss that place. We used to do the Cap and Hair Homebrew Club meetings over there.
Very nice, very nice. Not to change the subject, but you talk about the vintage cans. I don't know if you've ever. I think we talked about it or we didn't or whatever on how much you've gotten up to New York or if you've ever gotten up to New York or whatever.
Not quite that far yet.
Okay, Dave.
Don't tell anybody.
Have you been to? You've been to Rockaway Brewing, Dave. You've been to Rockaway Brewing.
I have not.
It's only about 3 blocks away from Fifth Hammer and Big Alice. It's not far. So it's close. It's much closer to Fifth Hammer than it is
Fifth Hammer.
Fifth Hammer. Fifth Hammer's going to be. Fifth Hammer's going to be on the show next week.
That's why I've heard of Fifth Hammer.
That's why you've heard of Fifth Hammer. There you go. Chris Kuzma will be on the show next week. But no, my thing for you is on Rockaway Brewing's wall. They have a huge array of old time cans and everything else. And the one that I always love, and anytime I see it, anytime I hear anybody refer to it, because I remember it from when I was a kid, people referring to it as Old Froth and Slosh.
Sounds dirty.
Old Frothing Slosh, yeah.
God, that sounds dirty.
That was a beer. Old Frothing Slosh. That was the name of the beer. So anyway.
But I'll have to send you guys a photo. I've got a massive collection of these cans in my desert storage.
That's awesome. That's
couple
awesome.
thousand.
Yeah, definitely send a picture. That's great. We'll put it right up on the website. But in any event, to wrap up this conversation, there's this show coming in. It's cool to have them coming in. It's just like Tony said, it's just a splash, and then they're gone. And we have another comment. Who's that from? It's Doug again. Yeah. He said, Northern Virginia has beer and wine stores that have lots of space for craft, no booze, just focus on beer and wine. Brands, believe it or not, can get lost and they vanish. There you go.
Have we lost the ability to throw the comments up?
What's that?
We lost the ability to pop up the comments?
No, I didn't put it up. I just read it. Here you go.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. There we go.
There you go.
Because I know we could do that at one point.
No. I read his first one because we were just in a phase. So there's the one I just read, and there it goes. Too much can be a real problem. Is too much be a real problem?
Too much beer a real problem?
Is too much be a real problem?
Beer. I think you meant beer. That's definitely not a problem from a consumer point of view, which is what John brought up in the beginning. We're talking from the brewer's point of view,
yeah.
Where, like you said, a brand can get lost.
But
now
there's also breweries, and I'll speak. Obviously, we know a couple we know the ones I'm referring to. I'm not going to say it. Where there's a lot of them that they do have beer out on the shelves, and they do send a certain amount of their beer out to market. But as far as package goes, and not too much draft. Most they keep, and they do a pretty good scale of a release. But the majority of their release, they actually sell out of the brewery every week, and their draft sales are the larger amount of them is out of the brewery as well. They have good traffic to the brewery, and they have a good marketing system that they can actually sell the majority of their cans out of their brewery.
So this
ideal
is a
situation.
Yeah. Cautionary tale to brewers. To breweries is with distribution, don't extend too deeply. And we know many brewers whose business model has been slow growth.
Right.
And not to get too far. And of course, the people that are left out of that distro get mad at them. But, this is a survival technique.
We have a few. We're not going to get into names or anything. And if anybody's in the know, they'll actually know what we're talking about. But there's a few breweries in Jersey that actually have grown to the point, and they've been around for quite a while. And they've grown to the point now where they're making some of the best liquid in the country. And they're not much further than the New Jersey area. They're a little bit into Pennsylvania, a little bit into New York, and that's it. They'll go into other states when they're going to a beer fest. And they'll send some beer out, and it'll be on tap somewhere. It'll be on the shelf somewhere, but it's just when they're there. They're getting a little
and we travel, and you mentioned you're from Jersey. They'll bring, the people will bring up these breweries. They've heard of them. They want them in the state.
Sure.
But the breweries, they purposely keep themselves a little constrained.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all beer is made to die, and the quicker the death, the better.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, even if you could enjoy it when it's not so fresh,
right,
or as fresh, like it's made to die, and it's a circular thing. So the sooner it dies, the sooner they make more, and we complete the circle.
Absolutely.
That's important to remember.
Support your local brewery and drink heavily.
Absolutely.
Just drink responsibly.
There you go. On that note, we were talking about 450 North came in, and I mentioned this to you before the show, Tony. I had the other day, I had a Spooky Goo was the name of the beer. Spooky Goo.
I won't repeat my joke.
I don't want these. I want it. Well, no, you can repeat it. Don't repeat it.
No, don't repeat it. I'll never repeat that.
Anyway, the name of the beer is from 450 North. It was Spooky Goo was the name of the beer. It was billed as a quadruple IPA, but there was no ABV on the can. There's no ABV on Untapped. There's no ABV on their website or any of their social media. There's no ABV listed. You can't find the ABV for this beer. So, I'm putting this out there. If anybody knows the ABV, the actual ABV, if anybody knows the actual ABV of Spooky Goo from 450 North, please write in, whether it's live during the show. Right now, boom, put it up.
No, that's Spooky. That's not Spooky Goo.
No, it's not Spooky Goo. You're not going to find it. Don't even bother looking for it. You're not going to find it.
I'm just trying to prove your point, John.
Okay. So you're just validating the fact that what I'm saying is true.
Yes, I'm trying to validate you.
I got you.
I know how much you like validation.
Find it, whatever. Yeah. So, but it was built. It was a very tasty beer, and if I had to say it honestly, it literally tasted maybe a 6% beer, if not less. Is what I was getting. Now that I've had some 9 or 10% beers that did taste like a 5 or 6% beer, so I'm not saying that it really was that low, but you can hide the ABV,
But John, what I say immediately there, it's got to be. I imagine the ABV is probably lower than what you would imagine a quad should be, and that's why they're hiding it.
Right.
What do you imagine a quad should be?
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, things have come down. I mean, years ago we were drinking 8% IPAs that weren't even double IPAs; they were just IPAs. Right.
Things have come down because the triple is up around 10 to 12, right?
10 to 12 used to be higher than that, but now it's about 10 to 12. So if it's
well,
legitimately a quad, so it's maybe 14, right? You would think it would be like a 14%.
Yeah.
Right.
0% ABV, 0 IBU.
Well, it's not 0. The only thing I found was that it said no ABV and no IBUs, not 0. They didn't advertise it as 0 ABV. And it can't be 0 ABV anyway because, O'Doul's is 0.5 ABV.
Right.
So
that was Untapped, and Beer Advocate has it as.
Here you go. And Doug Smith just commented. He goes, "How many IBUs are on a load of Spooky Goo?"
That would be a 0.
Oh, jeez.
And then he's getting close to my joke.
There you go. Well, to be honest with you, honestly, I had the other day. It was probably 0 IBUs. It was like any other New England you're going to have, or anything that's hazy, or anything like that. So there was really no bitterness to it. Maybe 10 or 20 if tops.
Well, a lot of the triples, like even take Dogfish Heads,
right,
18%er, and that's more sweet than it is bitter.
Sure. It's all malty, so yeah. So.
Yep, ABV not listed.
It's not listed, so there you go. Anyway, so there you go.
Let's tweet them.
There you go.
Release. We demand facts.
So the other thing,
what are you hiding?
Right. The other thing I wanted to bring up, though, a lot of these, and it's not necessarily 450 North by any means. I'm not picking on them by any means. It's just in general. A lot of the prices of, especially the ones coming in from out of state, the ones that are in distro, right? Now we've seen 4-packs, 18 is cheap now. We've seen $20, $21, $24 a 4-pack.
21 is the norm right now.
Right. They're on the shelf now for between $30 and $35 a 4-pack. That seems to be the going rate for a lot, not all, but a lot of these coming in from out of state, these small distros. $30 to $35 a 4-pack. So you're talking like $7 to $8 a can. More $7.50 to $9 a can. I'm not paying. I wasn't paying that much. I shouldn't be. You even now you don't pay that much. Maybe depending on where you are, obviously, for a draft pour, a pint. A draft pour or whatever. It's just, and that's retail. It doesn't make sense to me that is the going rate for a 4-pack of beer. I mean, I just think that's just way too. I mean, if it's costing you that much in distribution fees that you have to charge that much for the beer to make it worth it, don't distribute it.
Yeah.
Sell it by you.
I think aren't you mostly finding this on the beers with a lot of the hops in them, though? I mean, the most expensive ingredient.
You know what? No, you find it. Yes. Not just them, though. You're finding in a lot of ones that are a lot of these.
Most of the ones I've seen up in that higher range here are typically double, triple, dry hopped IPAs.
Yeah, tons of hops. It's an expensive beer to make. I get it, but you find them a lot with the fruity beers too. All the
puree and the extra wort.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
No, my third beer is going to be a fruity beer.
There you go.
So.
But anyway, so just want to bring that up. And the other thing I did want to mention before we get to the top 3 list, I did want to bring this up. Todd Ahlstrom put it out over the last week or two. EBF again in
EBF.
There you go. Right there. There you go.
All right.
That's the shirt. EBF again in 2021 is going to be virtual, same as it was in 2020. So the EBF boxes are coming out. There's a limited amount of the first round. You get some extra stuff with it. You get invited into extra rooms or something like that with some of the brewers or whatever. But the other round's going to come out not too long after that. And it's through Halftime Beverage, which is in upstate New York.
These guys.
Yep. They're going to be distributing the boxes.
And not for nothing, they did a fantastic job the last time.
It was very good. Yeah. Absolutely.
Everyone was a little,
worried,
hesitant and worried that they wouldn't get there in time.
They had it down. They got it down,
and they nailed it. And last EBF, so the special room's fine. The special rooms. So Johnny and I are part of this drinking circle, and Johnny couldn't join us because you puked your brains out for 2 days.
Pretty much.
So the 2 days of EBF, as a matter of fact. So he was out of it, but the rest of us,
half a day before to a half a day after, basically.
So each of us had 2 windows up. One was the EBF stream. The other was our Zoom call. We spent a good portion of the time making fun of the speakers.
Right.
Sam mostly. He seemed stoned out of his mind. It was awesome. But we had a lot of fun drinking together while doing this. So hopefully Johnny won't be as ill.
No.
For this time around. But I'm going to go over the list here. And there's a lot on this list, a lot to talk about on it. Ardwolf Brewing, Johnny knows. Ardwolf is probably one of my favorite breweries out of Florida.
Absolutely.
My brother used to live in Jacksonville, so we'd go there quite often. Previn is the owner of Ardwolf, and I hope he's on the show because my brother knew Previn when he was at the brewery. So he was always all about business. I knew Previn from the beer festivals, so I knew drunk Previn. I knew fun Previn. And my brother hated the fact that I got to drink with him like I did. Beer Thug Life is back. Love those guys. Love what they did. Love the whole schema of their brewery is fantastic. And then a brewery that that on this show we dump on them quite often, don't we, John?
Probably more than they deserve.
So Bolero Snort Brewing is part of EBF. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Scott and Bob.
Absolutely.
Who'd you blow? One, first of all. And second of all, are we going to experience extreme usage of lactose? That's probably what we're going to see. No, we joke. We joke constantly about their use of lactose. But you know what? They joke about it themselves. They actually just released a beer called Oops. No lactose.
No lactose, yeah.
So they make fun of themselves.
Actually, they released a pale ale because, oops, no lactose. There you go.
Dogfish Head is going to be back, of course. Funky Buddha, which is an interesting choice considering the backlash when they were taken over. Great Notion. That's a good choice. Sure. Yapas Cervejaria is Brazilian, and I think were they on last time?
Cervejaria?
No, it's Portuguese. Don't go Spanish on it.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right with the Portuguese, but because I don't remember if they were on last time or not.
I don't think they were.
So that one's interesting. One very, very close to home, especially Johnny's home. Cane Brewing will be on this year.
8 miles away from me.
8 miles away from Modest Brewing. I've had some of their stuff. They do some
Modest
good stuff. Is it pronounced modest?
It's modest, yeah.
Spelled modest.
It's modest.
Like dudist.
Right, like dudist.
Mortalis is back.
Mortalis is back, yeah. Modest actually makes really good liquid. I'll give them kudos. I've been to the brewery. I've had a bunch of stuff there. It's in Minneapolis. Very, 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 very good liquid. And obviously speaking to them at the brewery, that's the only reason that I know it's not Modest and it's Modest. So.
Another one that Johnny and I are very familiar with, Single Cut.
Sure.
Single Cut love Single Cut. And Southern Grist, I have been to that brewery, and they put out some really interesting liquid.
Southern Grist is good.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this box. So when it comes out of the first round, I'll be all over it on the second round.
I'm letting that one go. Never mind.
Yeah, let that one go.
Anyway, excited are you? All right.
I'm very excited about this box.
All right. So there you go. One other thing I wanted to bring up really quick. I know I just said that was the only other one I wanted to bring up, but I did want to bring this up. It came to my attention. There's a new brewery and this is going to segue into our top threes.
I'm going to grab another bottle.
You're going to go grab another bottle. Go ahead. There's a new brewery in newish, if you will, brewery in Colorado, in Denver, called Cohesion Brewing. All right. They, I don't know, when was the last time you were in Denver?
It's been a couple years.
Okay,
Never been.
So it's been a few years since I was there as well. But Cohesion is new. Our Matt, our producer, one of our producers or whatever, was just out there a couple months ago, and they're not that old. They're a fairly new brewery. They're ready for this. They're a Czech lager brewery.
I like them already.
They're a Czech lager brewery. That's
but
it. Pilsners, lagers, the bump done. Now, they have the slow pour taps and everything else. They'll actually give you a flight of different pours of the same beer. So, all right,
I love it.
Do that. Right, so that's another thing. Right, all great so far. It came to my attention on their Facebook page and on their Instagram page over the last couple of weeks that they actually do foam shots. Have you heard of such a thing? Now, I'm not putting it down by any means. I've just never heard of such a thing.
Do you take them with a straw?
Well, here's a picture of one of their foam shots. Here you go. That's a foam shot. Okay.
Right.
Clearly,
Wow.
they poured it. Yeah.
Liz would be proud.
It's a foam shot. Now, you think that I'm kidding as far as the foam shot. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not poking fun by any means. I've just never. This is new to me. Right.
No, I'm into it.
I'm into it too. I want to know. I want to, because that foam.
I want to go take some foam shots with you guys.
Especially with a slow pour tap and great check bills. That foam's delicious. So
yes,
I want to.
It is.
Absolutely. So here's the actual post from it right there. Okay, it's a beautiful day for foam shots, but I mean, when is it not a beautiful day for foam shots? So there you go. So yeah, that's a thing at Cohesion.
You ever host foam parties?
No.
Okay, explain.
Please.
You ever been to a foam party?
Explain.
Oh man,
Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Imagine like a bubble machine.
I was going to say there's a couple of ways we can go with this. I'm not sure.
Like a warehouse, and then it's
So wait a second. You
put too much
beer
soap in
foam?
the dishwasher, and it's not beer foam.
Oh,
it's
all right.
soap.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
But it would be way cooler if it was beer foam.
Oh yeah. Right.
Wait a second. We've got some calls to make.
There you go. We'll have to do that.
Make it happen, man.
All right.
I'll travel for that.
Bolero Snort, it will be hosting Zane Lamprey.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I think this would be something very special for them to do for when Zane shows up.
Party?
A beer foam party.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I need to text. I need to text Scott now.
We got to work on that.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I wasn't by any means. I wasn't poking fun by any means. I've just never heard of it, and that foam looks delicious. I want some. I need to go out there for all of it.
I want the beer.
Well, that too. Yeah, I want all of it. I want to
you
get
guys
out
ever
there.
been to the Draft House in Austin? The old beer.
Never
bar
been to Austin. No.
I have.
Right.
I have not. No.
It's a bar that opened in the '60s, and it's still open today, and it's now also a brewery. But they only serve beer, and people come in all the time and ask, "Hey, can I get let me get a shot of Jack and an IPA?" And they're like, well, we don't serve liquor. So
here's your IPA, but
I convinced them to sell, instead of like giving free samples away, just tell them they serve beer shots. And so you come in and get a little 2-ounce glass full, pay $1 for it, and knock it back.
There you go.
Not quite as fun, but
it works though.
Yeah.
It's the the action of doing it, right? I always say years ago I smoked, right? And one of the times that I tried to quit, and I haven't smoked in many, many, many years.
Except for cigars.
Cigars I smoke. I have one.
He's talking cigarettes.
Cigarettes, yeah. One of the ways I actually tried to quit once, years and years ago, was actually I would pop. At one point, I was smoking menthol cigarettes. At one point, I would actually put a certs in my mouth, and I would make the motion that I was smoking, and I would just inhale over the certs, and it actually worked. So it was just. If you just do it's the same kind of thing. You just do the shot of the beer or whatever. It serves the purpose. That's my point. Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. Anyway,
sure
comment here. Question for Tony from Doug. When will Houston be in March? Any must visits?
Can you read that?
Question for Tony. Will be in Houston in March.
You've only had 2.
On the show. Will in Houston in March. Any must visits? Going to Lockhart for barbecue. Any craft out there?
I'm a big fan of Brash Brewing. I love those guys.
Brash is good.
Brash is good. And if you don't like hops, fuck you. That's they got a poster that says that. I don't know if I can say that out loud, but
you're allowed to say that.
You can say that.
Yeah, it's all good. Brash is always good. Eureka Heights is another favorite of mine.
Again, just about facts here.
Absolutely.
Sure. Eureka Heights, Buffalo Bayou. They've got a 3-story brand new brewery with a great restaurant in it. And then St. Arnold is always a good standby.
St. Arnold's good standby. Yeah.
Great new beer garden there. And then there was a little brewery called Cara Cara in Lockhart, but it's no longer there. But your best bet's probably going to be like the southern end of Boston, which is not too terribly far away.
There you go. And he says he loves hops. So there you
go. All right. Yeah, Brash is for you.
There you go.
Just go right to Brash. You're good to go. All right. Well,
so I open my third.
You open your third. Here, I'll throw the third up there for you, and then we can go to our top 3s. There you go. Is that the Strawberry Darkness?
That is Strawberry Darkness from Oxbow.
Strawberry Darkness from Oxbow.
The farmhouse. But as you can see, it is a dark farmhouse.
Gotta love those dark farmhouse houses.
Oh, I like the dark farmhouses the best.
And ales are just dark farmhouses.
Too many jokes.
So little time.
Anyway, so I was going to go into some of the tasting notes, but now you've completely derailed me.
I derailed you. I try. It's my attempt every week. So
the FCC doesn't listen. Knock it off.
So.
Oh God, I like that.
So are you getting a lot of strawberry out of it?
It's not like a big strawberry bomb. It's just enough to let you know, hey, I'm here.
Right.
In the darkness. waiting for you, big boy.
See, it worked.
Right there.
My evil plan worked. There you go. All right. So I talked about Cohesion before. That's in Denver. Our top 3 list this week is top 3. Hold on one second.
Do you remember? I don't remember.
No, do you remember what it is?
Something about. Oh, we're back to Colorado, aren't we?
We are back to Colorado. Our top 3 tonight is. Our top 3 this week is top 3 favorite Colorado breweries. Right there. Top 3 favorite Colorado breweries. And, of course, our top 3 list, everybody knows. I'll say it in case there's anybody out there who's watching for the first time. We do a top 3 list. Why? Because 1933 was the repeal of Prohibition. And when we first started doing our top 3 lists, it was well over a year ago before we started having guests on the show. It was just Dave and I, top 3 for me, top 3 for Dave, 33, boom, top 3. So we pay homage to 1933. Plus, if we did a top 10, it would take way too long. So there you go. So,
considering we never stick to 3.
Right, because our top 3s usually turn into 4 or 5. So.
Wait.
All right. So top 3 list tonight is, once again, top 3 favorite Colorado breweries. All right. Alacron, you are our guest tonight. Please go first. Let us know your top 3.
I'm going to base mine. It's been a while since I've been up to Colorado, but I've spent a lot of time up there and in and out of the beer scene. And a lot of that time was spent driving the beer liner bus from Austin to Denver. And so some of my favorites are the friends I've made along the way, and the guys that partied with us the best and the most. And,
sure.
And they all make great beer too. So for my top 3, I picked the ones that were along that route, and Ska in Durango. They've been around for longer than a lot.
Yeah, they've been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then the good folks at Upslope.
Sure.
All right. I forgot about Upslope. Damn.
They were actually used to be able to buy a little bit of their beer here in Texas for a while. They've since pulled out, and they used to do some really cool. I think Scott kind of speaks for themselves, so I won't, don't have to say too much. But Upslope did several events where they did beer releases up in a mountain trail. You had to hike up there, and
really
have like a beer set up, and that was the only place you could taste it until
who the hell dragged that sixtel up the?
Well, they did it in cans.
Oh, they brought
but still, it's not,
Still gotta easy to bring it all up there.
But they did some really cool and engaging outdoor stuff. They donated, a portion back to even the local rivers and streams here in Texas, a portion of their sales here. So I really like those guys.
Oh, gotta love that.
And I once shotgun beers with the head brewer inside the mash tun.
Okay, this is okay. Next time you're on now, I've heard we're going to shotgun now. And I've heard, and next time you're on the show, we've got to do this.
Okay.
Well, you said that the last time he was on the show.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, well, I got a beer.
No, we're not doing it tonight. I do have to work tomorrow.
Okay.
But we got to do it next time you're on the show. We got to do a can shotgun on the show.
We'll do it.
Okay, let's do it.
We'll throw that together, and that's got to be a must.
Start practicing your thumb. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I know the thumb trick. I already know the thumb trick. It's not a trick. It's a necessity if you're actually going to get that liquid down your throat faster than anybody else.
Right.
Well, you could do it with a key or a knife.
Well, wait a second. Do you make the hole with your thumb?
Yeah, you want to see? I'm not going to shotgun it. I'll just side sip it.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Get up here where you can see it. We'll probably get this all there. Here we go.
You do it with the thumb.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Because usually what I do is I make a small hole with the keys and then use the thumb to expand it.
Right. No, if you do it with your thumb, it's perfect.
I'll tell you one thing, and I maybe even mentioned this last. We did one can shotgun, and there's a husband and wife there. And it was the first time they'd done a cat and shotgun. This was at I think it was at Carton Brewing, And so they did it, and they're like, they weren't. The husband was the last to finish. She was not the last to finish. And we figured out the reason that they were slower is they didn't realize they had to pop the top.
Right.
And when we realized that the wife had finished in the top 5, we looked at her husband and went, "You are a very lucky man."
She didn't pop the top, and she finished in the top 5.
Yeah, that was quite impressive.
So we won't say how she got the beer out of that can to finish in the top 5, but you use your
one of the greatest shotgunners of all time I've ever seen was Garrett Oliver.
Sure. Really?
I've seen Garrett.
Really? So he shot. What did he do? Puncture it in the middle and just pancake it into his face?
No, I don't know. We poked it. I poked it with my thumb, and then he thought that was pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to practice the thumb thing before the next time you're on the show.
There you go.
Well, be careful.
I was saying because that's like,
if you don't do it right, you can get yourself some stitches.
Yes, I'm aware of that. So I'll have to figure that out. I mean, it's just like if you're sabering a bottle.
Right.
Yeah, you can give somebody else a stitch.
Right.
But the cool thing about this is that nobody knows what you're doing until you've done it. And like most people don't even know it's a real thing. Mm-hmm. And imagine like knowing how to do this and just standing anywhere, like I did it on the floor at the Great American Beer Fest once at the PBR booth. We walked there. No, it wasn't even PBR. It was Colt 45.
Colt 45.
Oh, jeez. Did you shotgun a Colt 45?
They had the beer in cans. And I asked the guy, I said, "Hey, can I hold it?" And he said, "Sure, no problem." And I just picked it up and we're just looking at it, and my buddy's going, "Do it, do it, do it." And so I did. I popped a hole in it, and this guy, like, he looked at me like, "What the hell?" And the people, it sprayed beer on the people next to us, and they were like, "Whoa!" And I go, "Well, damn, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to shotgun it." And the guy goes, "Yeah." And so I did, and then like they're like, "Hey, you can't do that here," I'm like, "But I already did,"
Too late.
And then we disappeared into the crowd.
Spit the beer back into the can, please.
I did it on an airplane once, even, and
you shotgunned a beer in an airplane.
Well, I mean, I poked it like that, and it sprayed everywhere, man. Oh, not good. Like nobody on a plane wants strange liquid flying on them from anywhere.
So much. Well,
so I imagine having a decent nail is key to this.
Well, you don't need much of an edge. You do need an edge.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be a long thumbnail.
Yeah, no, you don't need like this, but just something
your thumbnail only creates the crease and begins it. It's your thumb and the follow through.
The pressure of your thumb following through to push it through. Yeah.
The whole reason a beer can exists is to be popped open and drained.
It's usually traditionally on the top.
I mean,
that thing on the top just makes it easier.
Think about the wisdom that we've gotten on the show so far today. All right, beer is made to die, and the whole reason a beer can exist is to be popped open and drained.
And all politicians suck.
Oh yeah, there you go. Just the facts.
Facts. These are the facts, folks.
Just the facts.
Just the facts.
And I'm going to give you my last top 3 because I'm going to have to run here pretty quick. But
by the way, the upslope.
I'm going to shoot a show tonight.
There you go.
Left Hand Brewing Company.
Left Hand.
Those guys broke the beer liner once. They broke the beer liner. And that's not easy to do. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But man, I've enjoyed. It was Eric used to tell them if they their pre-GABF meeting, he would say if you didn't go to the beer liner that as a staff member of this brewery that you're really not getting the full experience of the Great American Beer Fest. So I got to know him pretty well over the years and really enjoyed the thing that they brought to the table. And like, man, those guys party harder than anybody I've ever met in my life.
That's awesome.
In Colorado, anyway.
That's right. In Colorado, yeah.
And, one of the best things about Left Hand is one of their bottles, The Stranger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is a Gone in 50 Seconds. Gone in 60 Seconds reference right there. And the best part of it is you've got a guy in silhouette with his left hand in front of his, just above where his legs come together.
Legs come together.
Legs come together. Not hairy lug nuts. Yeah. Legs.
And they told me they'd never can, and then they did.
And then they did. Liars.
Exactly. All right, Samurai, yours.
You can let me go first, knowing I'm going to steal one of yours?
Or you want me to go first?
Because you're not going to steal one of yours.
I know. That's why I'm asking you. You want me to go first?
You can go first if you want, so you can say it first.
I'll go first so I can say it first. There you go. All right. My number three. Well, first of all, I'll give you my honorable mentions. Okay. You know what? I'm not even going to give you my honorable mentions. I'll talk about them when you do it. There you go.
Yes.
So there you go. My number three is actually Black Shirt Brewing. They're up in Denver. They're up in Rhino.
Are they the guys with the slanted glasses, the glassware?
Is that Ratio? I think that's Ratio.
What had it's like it looks like a wine glass, but it's cut off at a 45-degree angle.
It's cut off at a 45-degree angle. It's not
Black Shirt used to have those in the beginning, I think.
Yeah,
maybe they did.
They were a beer liner stuff once.
They were. I've seen the glasses. I'm trying to remember whether they're.
Yeah, so you can like sip it and keep all the aroma in there with you.
And the thing, yeah,
kind
exactly.
I like this.
Black Shirt's really good, and the space that they at least the way it was the last time I was there anyway, really good. It's an industrial area, obviously in Rhino, but like tons and tons of pallets out back. But they got a stage out there for live music and everything else. Really, really, really good space, and the beer is just amazing. Their porter that I had, I don't think they've brewed in a while, but at Dawn it was really good, and their IPAs are just fantastic. They're just good. Black Shirt, their Black Shirt is a reference to. Being a rebel, like Johnny Cash always wore a black shirt, so they're Black Shirt Brewing. That kind of they're rebellious or whatever, doing things not in the norm, that kind of thing. Anyway, number two, Beer Stott.
Oh yeah,
Beer Snot.
Beer Stott.
Beer Snot.
Beer Snot. Yeah, Beer Snot.
Yeah, Beer Snot.
Well, I gotta love Beer Snot.
Yes.
It's what drips out when you shotgun a beer. You got Beer Snot.
Drink too much of it, it's blowing right out of there.
Exactly. No. Beer Stott in Denver as well. Their slow pour pills is just amazing. I think it's its own food group, basically. It's crazy, and their Dunkel's fantastic too. Everything they make there, it's just crazy good lagers and everything there. And my number one, Avery. Avery on Boulder. Uncle Jacob Stout is crazy. And this time of year, look for Old Jubilation too. Old Jubilation is an old ale. I'm a big old ale freak. I can't get enough of them. And the Old Jubilation is really good. It's 8.5%. Uncle Jacob Stout's almost 17%. So
I inherited a collection years ago of about 4 cases of holiday beers from dating back in the mid '90s. Some of them, and there were only a handful of these actually held up to the test of time. We chilled them all down and worked our way through them. But the Old Jubilation were the ones that were probably as good or better than they were originally.
Sure.
They aged very, very well.
I have to concur with you on that too. Old Jubilation. I had some older ones, and they were really good. Anchor Christmas, actually, some of them held up as well too from the mid '90s too.
I've still got several of those. I actually saved a big set of those I got about 15 years worth of those. I'm still beering them.
We had an 18-year vertical of a few years ago of Anchor Christmas, and the best out of all. I mean, this was 95 through 2013. 95 through 2013. So it might have been an 18 or 19-year vertical, actually.
Was the best one the freshest one?
No. The best one was 1998. The second best one was 95.
They aged very well.
The second best one was the oldest one.
I think I got them.
We did a 20-year Bigfoot vertical, and like they really kind of got better as they went along.
Yeah.
Like some of the older ones, and it could have been how it was stored. They were oxidized and this and that.
Oh yeah.
But,
the 99 and 2000 were oxidized.
Really nice.
Yeah. Some of the older ones weren't great. Some of the newer ones were, but the best one was 98. The second best one was 95. So it's crazy. So there you go. So Black Shirt, Beer Stott, and Avery. Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that right?
Well, I'm going to second Avery. I don't have a 1, 2, 3.
You don't
have it's interesting because when craft beer started exploding across the country, I consider it kind of the second wave. The first wave was the Sam Adams, Pete's Wicked.
Right.
The second wave,
Sierra was in the first wave.
Sierras in the first wave, Anchor, all that.
Sure.
And then things quieted down for a little while, but then we got an explosion, and some of the beer, and some of these breweries were around in that first wave or just shortly after. They just weren't really widely distributed, so we didn't know them too well.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they first came out, like Fort Collins came out, some of these breweries, and it's not one of my top 3. Mm-hmm. No offense to Fort Collins lovers, they made some good stuff, but they don't fit for me. But I've got to echo Avery.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around for a while. For you hopheads out there, the Maharaja.
Sure.
The Maharaja is one of those beers that if you ever want to taste anything over the next couple of days, don't drink it. It is going to destroy your taste buds. Make sure it is the last beer you drink of the day, because you'll taste nothing other than Maharaja after you drink a Maharaja. That was one of the highest IBU, just tear your tongue to shreds beer. It was the first one I ever had like that.
I haven't had enamel on my teeth in years because of that beer.
Because of that beer, absolutely.
That beer is amazing. And John, you forgot to mention their pumpkin beer.
I was waiting for you.
Go ahead.
I was waiting for you. Yeah, their pumpkin beer. Yeah, they make 2. They make Rumpkin.
Yeah, Rumpkin's the one.
And they make pumpkin, but the K and
KY,
it's not KY, right?
Yeah.
And there's no jelly involved in this beer. But
is that confirmed?
No, the KY is for Kentucky.
Oh, geez, we're on to Wynkoop now, are we?
Wynkoop, yeah. There's no whatchamacallit. The KY is for Kentucky, so it's a barrel aged pumpkin. These 2 beers are amazing, and the Rumpkin and the pumpkin, the pump KY in that they make. They're 2 of the best pumpkin beers that you could ever think about buying and drinking. So there you go. So.
Coincidentally, Wynkoop is the brewery that the Beerliner will never be able to go to again.
No? Why is that?
Only once.
Just went once.
Well, this is after they were, taken over by the overlords, but they did not approve of our shenanigans.
This is a story for another show.
Show of hands. Who has had Wynkoop's Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout?
I have not.
I shotgunned it.
Dave, you want me to tell you something? Yeah. It's actually really good.
I know it's really good. Really good. I need to get out there. I really need to get out there. So
it comes in a 2-pack, so one for you and one for a friend.
It comes in a 2-pack. Of course, it comes in a 2-pack.
There's 2 of them. And anybody who's listening who does not know what we're talking about, why are you listening to this show?
Yeah, you don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. That is fair.
So let's see. I've got Avery down, right? So I've got 2 more to go through.
Exactly.
There's an honorable mention to New Holland. Dragon's Milk, especially the barrel-aged version, deserves some recognition there. That is a phenomenal beer.
It's not from Colorado.
It's not Colorado.
No, who am I talking about?
It's New Holland.
It's Michigan.
Shit.
New Holland.
No. Who am I thinking about? I'm thinking about
New Holland is actually about. Oh,
New Belgium.
You're thinking about New Belgium.
He's on his fourth beer.
Fourth beer.
No, I'm on my 3rd. 2 of them are 9.
New Holland's only about 3 miles away from this brewery.
And I've got my tequila purred. I purred my damn tequila.
Yeah, you purred your tequila.
I just grabbed an Oklahoma accent in there.
So it wasn't very good.
No, which is a shame because my grandfather's from Oklahoma. So he always had
Oklahoma.
If you had it, you'd come by it on us, but
he'd have a dish of ice cream, and this is a pin.
A pin.
This is a pin. So that's a better Oklahoma accent right there, as I make fun of my grandfather. God rest his soul. But no, okay. So New Belgium, you're correct. That's and New Belgium. Oh my God. Yeah, they've got some stuff, but that was an honorable mention of mine. Paradox is one of the ones I wanted to put on my list, and it's Paradox Beer Company. I don't know. I've never been to Colorado, so I'm not actually sure where they are. I've just pulled the bottles off the shelf.
Paradox. There's 2 Paradox breweries. There's Paradox Beer Company in Colorado.
That's Colorado,
and they're famous for they do a lot of sours. Out there or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I do know those guys. They do the swing top bottles, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's Paradox Brewing, which is in Schroon Lake, New York, and they'll actually be on the show in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So, there you go.
We have now mentioned both of our next 2 coming shows.
Next two shows. Yeah.
Almost incidentally, so that's pretty well done.
Exactly.
But Paradox, they make a series called Scully Barrel.
Yeah.
And this is a series of wild ales, and every one that I've pulled off the shelf has been fantastic. So I want to put them up there, give them a mention. Yes, it's only for one of their lines. I haven't had the rest of their stuff, but had to toss that out there.
Sure.
And the other one I wanted to toss up there, and Alakan had mentioned them a little earlier in passing, A Great Divide.
Sure.
Oh, no, you said Bigfoot. No, you said Bigfoot. Yeti. I'm confusing Bigfoot and Yeti. But Yeti, oh God, the Yeti series is one of my favorite series. Was Espresso Yeti?
Oh man,
that's my favorite.
That's a good one.
That is my favorite. The Belgian Yeti was damn good.
Tiramisu.
It's a tiramisu version.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the other reason that Great Divide is close to my heart is they actually did put out a beer called Samurai.
Yep.
That was that rice ale that they put out. It was pretty damn good.
It was tasty.
It was tasty.
One of my favorite Great Divides, I got to tell you, and this was in my honorable mention too, but I figured I knew you were going there, so I'd bring it up then. Their Hibernation Ale. It's an old ale. It's so good. I used to get at least a couple 6-packs of it every year. I haven't had it in a couple of years. I can't find it anywhere. I know the Great Divide's still distributed in New Jersey. I just haven't found Hibernation.
They've lost shelf space.
They have.
Not all. We used to get the one liquor store I was mentioning. They would get every single Yeti. Mm-hmm. You'd be lucky to find 2 of the Yetis now.
Right.
You might find regular Yeti and Oak Age. Now Yeti, straight up Yeti, is one of the harsher stouts you're going to drink.
The variants they do are pretty amazing.
They're amazing, but Yeti itself has got this wonderful harshness. I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
It's a good thing.
It's a good harshness to it. It is one of your more punishing stouts out there.
Sure.
And what I loved Yeti for, when I did smoke cigars, I stopped smoking cigars. When I did smoke cigars, I would have Yeti on tap in the house. A Yeti and a cigar. The Yeti becomes sweet, and the cigar becomes sweet.
Sure.
They balance each other out. It is the perfect accompaniment to a cigar. Is a Yeti. Can't put it any better than that. That's just they worked so well together.
I agree.
So Great Divide was that had to be them. Avery, Paradox.
And the last time I was actually at Great Divide, I was there with Jess was there with me. Jim was there, but Harry Lugnuts was there.
Nice.
And Brian, one of our producers, was there. So
Mr. Altshow.
Yeah, and there were a couple other guys too. So
Nosefield
was there as well.
Nosefield
was there as well himself. So.
Now, Tony, I don't know if you know, there's a couple of terms that we push forward in this show a lot. One is that Liz Pour, which actually originates out of Rhode Island, and a Liz Pour is a beer that's a pour that's more foam than anything. So that was my comment with the foam shots.
Unintentional. Too much foam.
If you ever make it to Austin and you order a Swifty, it's a half pint of anything you ask for.
Really?
in a specific glass. Yeah.
Swifty. But the other term that we're trying to put out there is nose feel, because there's mouth feel and there's nose feel.
I know nose feel.
Yeah.
We actually pondered one night how long you would sniff a beer until you sniffed all the nose feel out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
some beers are so good, they've got such a great aroma. Like it's
there are some beers
enjoyable to just like really just
Roquefort 10.
Yeah. And then how long are we going to sit here and sniff this thing before it doesn't?
Roquefort 10.
Were you high enough that you asked Mr. Owl himself?
Plead the fifth.
There you go.
I'm not discussing my day.
There are so many beers that there are so many beers I couldn't even mention them all. That you smell them, you don't want to drink them. You want to just keep smelling them. I just want to keep sticking my nose in this damn glass and smelling this. I don't want to drink it yet.
And can you sniff all the flavor out of it?
Exactly. That's interesting.
Jeez, Mr.
Excuse me, Mr. Owl. How long will it take to sniff all the flavor out of this beer? Let me go. One and two, three. Anyway, I do want to mention one other thing too, and I say this with all the conjecture in the world. Breckenridge, pre AB and Bev,
pre-ban,
right?
Pre-ban.
When they were actually their own brewery, okay, and I really mean that, and I don't mean that in like a bad way of saying, I'm just not going to drink it anymore because of that or whatever. It's
not
as good. It's just not as good. Pre-ban, they're Automale.
And the porter.
The porter, well, yeah. Well, I'm just specifically speaking of this time of year, the season or whatever. Their Automale pre-ban was so good. I used to love that. But anyway, so.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Guys, I got to sign out.
Hang on one second. Don't send out.
Okay.
Let me just, we'll wrap the show up on this note for today.
All right.
We want to thank everybody for watching. We want to thank those of you that are just listening to the audio podcast. Thanks for listening as well. And don't forget to visit our website, www.loggerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Logger Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night at 6:30-ish. And for those of you that just want to listen.
You took my line.
I'm sorry. And for those of you that just want to listen to audio podcasts, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Plus, the show is now available on Amazon Music Podcast and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Alakran, thank you so much for coming on with us again. Always an incredible show when you come on. We really appreciate it.
Always an honor.
Always an honor. We really appreciate it.
I'll drink a beer with you anytime.
Absolutely.
We got to figure out how to make that happen.
We're going to make that happen. Absolutely.
Let's do that.
Definitely. So
desert trip.
Yes, we'll do that.
Actually, I seriously need to get up to Big Bend.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We should do that. We should work on that and make that happen.
All right.
I'm good with that. So enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Drink a lot of beer. Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly.
Absolutely. And we will talk to you soon. Take care, folks.
Cheers. There we go.